Oh, hello, hello. It's been a while, folks. Happy New Year. Let me say that first. Happy New Year. I hope your New Year's started off amazing. I know it's been a challenging couple of years. Yeah. COVID and friends are trying to ruin things for us, but we're going to stay positive. We're going to keep it positive because I am back. We are back with some more great businesswomen to talk life, to talk business. And it all starts with Christian Mills. Okay, this is a wonderful young lady. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. Yeah, I did take a little break, but we back. Okay. And she's an amazing human being. And I'm so excited to have her on the other side. Stay tuned, y'all, for Christian Mills. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. So when I thought about starting a podcast, I had no idea how it worked. I don't know how I came across Anchor, but I did, and it was free, and it was 100% easy to use. And I love to use it to connect to my audience. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Have you ever wanted to start a business but didn't know where to start? I know the process can be really overwhelming because I embarked on this process over 15 years ago and had such anxiety trying to do this myself. I don't want you to suffer the same fate, so join me and let me help you confidently start and run your business with ease. Go to www.koyeta.com, or you can find me on Instagram at I am Koyeta and click the link in the bio. It's that easy. Join me. Let me help you start that business. Let me help you turn your idea into a business, and let me walk you through the entire process. No stress. See you there.
Can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me? Okay, perfect. Hey, girl.
How are you? I was like, wait, did I come on at the wrong time?
No, you came on at the right time. Sometimes this is why I said in that email technology.
Yeah, it does
Yeah,
its own thing.
it does its own thing sometimes. So I just want to know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Christian?
hmm Yep,
Okay,
Christian is
perfect. How
fine.
could I? Yeah, you know what? I have a unique name, so I have to make sure I get it right.
Thank you. And it's pronounced Koyeta.
Girl, you got it right. 100%. Yes.
Wonderful. I was a teacher and I was big about that. So
Yeah, it's
making sure
pretty
people's
major.
names are pronounced right. It's a huge deal.
It trust me. When you've been called as many things as I've been called, you want to make sure you have it right,
Oh yeah, I
right?
believe it. I tell people all the time, my name is Christian, and like I love that you just said it. Some people are like, well, she's a girl. Maybe it's Christina. Maybe it's Christian, and maybe it's this, and they make it all these things. And I'm like, no, it's
No,
Christian.
that's exactly what it says.
So I can relate to you on that note.
Thank you very much. So let's tell the people about Christian. So you are
Okay.
Christian Mills.
Mhm.
You are a Christian entrepreneur. You help women of color launch, grow, and pivot their budding businesses by identifying next steps, strategies, and systems. So we're about in the same vein
Mhm.
of things we do. But tell me from your own lips. Tell me a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Thank you for having me here.
You're
So
more than
I am
welcome.
a lot of things. I'm a business coach. I have a background in education as far as my career. I've worked in higher education. I've taught. Even my full-time job now is still in campus and community work. So I really love just educating and kind of just fell into that with my business as a business coach. I love to brunch, I love to travel, but I also love to stay in the bed all day and watch Netflix once a month and just kind of regroup. And I really enjoy my morning time, my morning routine, my time with God, my workouts, and just getting into the right space and place to have a productive day.
I love that you mentioned that because I have questions written down, but one of the questions that popped into my head just a while ago was morning routine. As an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, it's said that you need to have, wake up at 5:30 in the morning and have this morning routine. So tell me a little bit more. I buy into it sometimes, and then based on my own life, I'm like, nah, you know,
Yes, and so
yeah,
I would definitely piggyback off of what you said. This is something that I decided at the beginning of the year I'm going to get serious about a morning routine. Like you said, we hear successful CEOs and millionaire business owners and all these
hmm,
successful people have morning routines. And so in March, I decided that I was going to try something new. I tried waking up at 5 a.m., working out at working out 4 times a week in the morning. I would get up, work out, shower, read my devotional, make my to-do list, kind of open the blinds, light a candle, and start my day.
yeah,
And I did that for all of March, and it was amazing to be able to open up and perform at that level. And when I was working at that time, I was teaching, so like I was doing all of that, and then getting ready to go out into the school day, and then come back at home and work my business at night.
yeah,
So it was really a refreshing. It gave me more energy. It was a refreshing experience, and I kept that routine up until about July, maybe.
yeah.
And then just based on the flow, like as a teacher, I was out of school for the summer, so I allowed myself to start my day like an hour later. I would get up at 6. When the fall started, I did kind of go back to that 5 a.m. workout time, and now it's dark and cold again. And so I've switched to trying to be in the gym in my apartment complex by 6 a.m. So I think that morning routines are excellent in order to, figure out what helps you start your day and get into a place where you're entering the day from a peaceful place, a positive place, and it helps you be most productive. But I also tell my clients, like, it doesn't have to look like what everyone else's looks like. I have
Right,
some
right.
clients who like to get up at 9 and start their day. They like being able to sleep in and have their breakfast and not start until 10 or 11. I have
Hmm.
people who are morning people just like me that get up early. So my advice for anybody that wants to create a morning routine is to just ask yourself what feels good, like what helps you start your day from a place that feels good, and just make a list of 3 to 5 of those things and try it out. It may change, it may adjust, you may adjust it in seasons like I did, but it really does make a difference in the day.
And I think your point is key about changing. I think, you know, entrepreneurs or just people in general think you have to stick to the routine. Like, no,
Yes.
you can change, you can pivot, you can do all these things. And I
Mhm.
think, when you think change, it's like a scary thing because you're like, well, failure. No, you know, but
Yeah, that's so
yeah,
true.
yeah. So in terms of entrepreneurship, you have a big story. So I'm actually going to have you kind of dive into more about who you are and your backstory because I think it's so interesting. And
Thank you.
I need to know, like, if you're going to write a book or something, because I think this is book worthy. I think this is book
Wow.
worthy. Yeah. So
Thank you.
dive
Well,
in. You're welcome. Go ahead.
you tell me which parts you want to make sure I hit on, but I will say it's funny because, people keep asking, am I going to write a book? I actually have written 2 books
Ooh,
already. And I wrote one book when I was in my freshman year of college. My book was called Made to Stand Out, When Fitting In Is Not an Option. And when I
wow.
was growing up, I just never fit in. And for most of my childhood, I struggled with that because I just felt so different from other kids around me or other people around me. And then
Yeah.
I finally realized around high school that I wasn't called to fit in. I am a uniquely different person. I
Mhm.
have a uniquely different way about me. I
Yes.
command a different room or space
Ooh,
when I
speak
enter
to
it, and I
me.
had to be
Speak to
able
me.
to
Yeah.
become comfortable with that. And to become comfortable with some people's uncomfortableness with that. And
Yeah.
around that time, and I went to college, I finally had started to make peace with the fact that I was not made to stand out, but that I was made in the image and likeness of God, and there was a specific and unique path for me. So that was my first book. I wrote a second book called Surrendered. It's About Time You Let God Lead. And that was in 2018. And that was when my life was like in shambles. I had
Hmm.
graduated college in 2016, finally got my dream job working in higher education in 2017. 2017, maybe beginning of 2017. Was in that job for a year and a half, was run out of it by a crazy boss. And
Hmm.
everything that I thought that I was having, the overflow and favor experience that I thought that I worked for all my life, it just came crashing down. I had moved out by myself. I had my dream job. I was making good money. And then in a matter of a year, I was really just struggling, literally struggling. Couldn't get another
Yeah.
job for 8 months. Felt like I was blackballed from the higher education industry where I was from. It was just a struggle. It was just such a struggle. And that is kind of like when I first started thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. I knew I would always work for myself. I just never knew how. And I had tried a skincare business that didn't work because my products would sometimes melt when they went out to the west and it was the middle of the summer and I didn't have enough
Hmm.
money to figure that problem out.
Right.
I was an ambassador, a brand ambassador for It Works for about a year and a half. That was a fun time, and I had tried network marketing, loved it. I have worked since I was 16 and I'm 28 now. And I just finally came to the realization in 2019 that if I can make all these stores, businesses make money, if I can make all these other brands make money, if I can make these other colleges have higher impacts and get higher rates and do all these wonderful things for everyone else, I have to be able to make something work for myself with these same gifts that everybody else in all these other industries are able to profit off of me for. And that's when I started my business building journey. I don't know if you want me to dig deeper into that or just
Oh, I
pause
got some,
there.
yeah, I got some key points I want to touch on. Um,
Hmm.
and I love that because I was going to ask you about your aha moment for entrepreneurship, and you just gave that to me. Um, so, yeah, so based on your experience working at your dream job, which is amazing, um, and being harassed, which is not
Yeah,
amazing, by a
no.
mentor, like that, that's crazy to me. How
Yeah.
did that whole experience prepare you for where you are now?
Oh man. I think I'm still figuring it out, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Because it was one of those situations where, like, as a black woman, you almost wish it was not a person of color, but it was an older black woman.
that
And
is,
so that was just
hmm,
very unfortunate.
yeah,
I think that the whole experience, to be honest, broke me down because when you're graduating college, you're believing God for this job in your career field. A lot of times it takes people time to get it. It took me about a year. I worked another job before I got this job. And it just seemed like I said, you know how you're reading the Bible and you're like, oh, I'm working, I'm sacrificing. This season sucks, but I'm getting to my land of milk and honey and all these things. And
hmm,
when I got that job, it was like I'm the oldest of five, and I graduated college. I got this job eventually. I'm moving out for the first time. I'm super excited to live by myself. I come from a really big family.
yeah,
And just having my own, got my first car, did these things as a result of having this job when I'm in this dream career. And I really thought that, like, okay, this is like the beginning of my 7 years of plenty and all these things. But when that happened, I was praying for God to get me out of it. And I was stuck in that situation, being harassed on my job for about a year.
hmm,
It wasn't fruitful for me to leave quite yet. I had to seek assistance in leaving. It wasn't fruitful for me to stay, but I didn't know how to get out of it yet. It was just a very trying time, and it tested my faith in God because I couldn't understand why He would leave me in it.
yeah.
But it's also one of those things where I've seen Him begin to restore me and begin to bless me as a result of that. And I know that if I could make it through that season, it's not a lot else that I'm not going to be able to make it through. So it definitely strengthened me, but it did break me down in order to build me up.
Ooh, oh, I love that. Break you down in order to build you up.
Mhm.
That's powerful. And I think just going back to something that you said really quickly that I can
Mhm.
identify with when you talk about feeling different in circles. And that is something that even now I feel,
Oh God, yes.
yeah, that like I struggle with, like I just like wherever I go, I feel different, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and then it maybe it's the calling that you have on your life. So
Yeah,
excellent
it's
point.
it's very hard sometimes. And I mean, I still struggle some days. Like, I
Hmm.
went to an event, I moved to Charlotte recently.
Yeah,
And I love it here. This was my dream city to move to, so I'm super excited to be here. But I
amazing.
went to my first event a month ago, and it was my first in-person event since, I guess, maybe the earlier this year. And earlier this year, I went to a wonderful event. But I know that there's a way about me that commands attention. I have a
Hmm.
presence, and I'm a nice person, but I understand from other people's experiences that sometimes they perceive me to be intimidating, and I refuse to take that on because I'm not.
Mhm.
So it's always interesting to see the experiences I have in a room. And I had an experience earlier this year at an event where like a couple other women treated me really rude for no reason. But I was
Mhm.
with my sister who's very happy go lucky, very bouncy, very joyful, very like disarming.
Yeah.
And I was around her and they had a completely different experience and treated her very well. So
Mhm.
going into my event in October that I was attending here for the first time, I was kind of like, do I want to play the background? Do I want to be quiet? But it's like who I am is a fun person. I'm a social person. I love to get dressed and be cute and kiki and talk about entrepreneurship and learn people's stories. And so it's like I chose to go in and be my whole self. And I
Mhm.
think at some point in our lives, we have to decide that, people are going to be happy with us if we don't show up as our whole selves, and people are going to
Yeah.
be upset with us if we do. So I'm coming to the point in my life where I realize that I'm here on purpose. I'm entering the rooms that I'm entering on purpose. I'm in the spaces that I'm in on purpose. And I'm not shrinking to make anyone else comfortable.
Bloop, no shrinking.
No
We're not going
shrinking.
to do that. Just accept who you are. And yeah, I get it. People can perceive the same intimidating, and I don't know why. I guess,
Yeah,
I guess you have a more serious face when you're first walking, but as the conversation flows, you're like, oh man, this person's cool. So I guess it's just to get over
exactly.
that initial appearance.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I totally get that. You also mentioned in your story that in one of your jobs you were surrounded by racists, and it's
Yes.
like, what was that experience like for you? And what would you tell a woman of color that are experiencing the same thing where they are now?
Oh man, first of all, I can tell you did your research, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You were
Yes,
like, "Oh,
ma'am.
I'm getting to the meat of the things. We are not
That's
doing that
right.
private here." I love
Mm-mm.
that. Yes, and after I went through that whole season where I couldn't get a job for like 8 months, I decided I was going to go back to grad school. I had always thought about teaching, but didn't do it because I had heard negative things about the industry and just how teachers
Yeah.
didn't make money. But I was like, you know what? I love kids. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a try. I started
Mhm.
my journey to get my master's in special ed, ended up in a program that allowed me to teach while doing it. And the very first full-time job I got as a teacher, I will say maybe all but two of my entire team, I eventually came to find out was racist.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, it was very interesting because I am very much to myself when it comes to professional spaces. So I'm
Yes.
fine in my classroom. I'm going to make sure that I'm having a good time. My students are learning. We're hitting our scores. We're achieving things. We're going to have a great time in whatever my classroom number is.
Mhm.
But I don't typically always engage as a teacher because sometimes not the industry, but sometimes what goes on in academies and things, it can be toxic. And I
Right.
choose to opt out of that. But for me, there was a Black History Month where I was on this team and I had suggested that we do these mini videos every morning. And it came out that some teachers were not playing them. And the school that I worked at was at least 88% people of color, Black children,
Really?
Spanish children, all of these things, but probably 88% white teachers.
Okay.
And so when the students would come, they changed classes because I taught sixth grade. I would say, "Oh, did you see the video about Beyonce today? Did you see the video about Rosa Parks today?" And then some of them would say no. So I found out that certain teachers weren't playing the videos and they refused to play the videos. And then, when I brought it to my team, there turned out to be this big debate and everyone was so upset with me because I divided the room as a Black person and I called them out and I called them racist. It's like, no, that's not what I did. I just wanted to understand why we would withhold knowledge from a group of students about the culture that they come from.
Right.
And it got very interesting after that, over the next month or so. And for people that work in environments where things are toxic and there are racists, I would just say, remember that you have options. I feel like I've lived a lot of life for a 28-year-old, but from the time
Agreed.
I worked from 16 to 28. I'm 28 now, and that was
Mhm.
probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost every working experience I've had a terrible working experience with a terrible boss or a terrible team,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And that was not my first racist work experience. But what I've learned is that we have options. And that's been one of my greatest lessons that I've learned as a young adult, is that we have options. I chose to leave that school. I chose to go to a different district that was amazing. I worked at a different school that was amazing, but then I encountered a racist team lead. And so I just dealt with that, but I sought other options. I sought other options, which is now how I get to work from home, doing my campus and community job, which is wonderful. But people have options. I think society tells us all the time to just put up with it and work your do your dues and climb the ladder. You can climb whatever ladder you want in life. I know that my ladder doesn't lead to me working for other people in the end anyway. I know that I'm going to eventually be a full-time entrepreneur. But I think that we have to let go of the need to prove that we can withstand pain. And that's just not even just in work. That's just in a lot of what we're taught, is that we have to stick through hardship in order to gain the good, when you can choose differently.
Amen. I think with the strong Black woman type of, trope, it's like, no, there are moments when you just need to step out of the situation. So I completely agree with you. And I agree with you as well that you will be leading into full-time entrepreneurship, because I feel the spirit. I feel it. So
Thank you.
I see great things for you. One of the things I do is I like to study people. And you're one of those people that I've been watching for a while, and I can see there's something different and unique about you. And when you mentioned, you're welcome. When you mentioned that you wanted to get on a podcast, just kind of speaking about things you want, I said, I have to have her on, because you have to give people opportunities, right?
I truly appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I think you got to open your mouth so people know what you want. And that's exactly what you did. I was in a position to make that happen. So I said, I need her. You are an amazing human from what I can see. And I know faith plays, you're welcome. I know faith plays a big role in your life. And how has it helped you? Because you've been through a lot. So how has your faith helped you?
Yes, my faith has really kept me. I'm grateful that my parents are pastors, so I'm a PK. I share that every now and then. Some people have their own thoughts about PK, so I don't share it all the time, but my parents are pastors, and they are amazing. They set an amazing example for me, just as a person and a family, and just as Christians. And I've grown up in the church. I think my church that my parents run, I'm 28, it might be celebrated 25 years. So I've literally always been in the church, but it wasn't until I went to college and I was actually away from home that my relationship with God got deeper. And I think that my faith has just shown me that I can trust God in all situations. I used to be I'm still a little bit of a type A planner, but now I consult God on my plans and I plan with him. I even pray in the mornings before I start my day. Like, God, I invite you into my day. I ask you to lead me through my day and show me what opportunities and things that come to me are for me and which ones are not. And so faith, I always tell people that I believe that God is the CEO of my business. He is the person that has given me the gifts to start this business. So I know that he's not going to leave me throughout any process of me starting this business. And the more that I activate the principles of the Bible, of being consistent, of sowing, of reaping, of seed time and harvest, I know that things in my business have been able to grow because I follow the principles of the Bible and I trust God at his word. So I don't know how people do entrepreneurship without believing in God. I just don't know how they do it, because this season's change, things change. There's always something new to learn. There's ups and downs, but just knowing that God is with you all the time makes the journey worth it, especially when you're in seasons where you don't see your way out or you don't see what's coming next. Like it just, listen, I don't know how people do it without God. So it really just makes my day. That's my answer to the question. The faith just guides me through this journey, because I would not be the same person without it. I wouldn't be the same person in my own strength, because life comes at you fast sometimes and it can be hard. And I wouldn't be where I am in my own strength.
Absolutely. So it's your not so secret sauce.
Yes, it is definitely my not so secret sauce.
Okay, so I love that you move, like, you're a brave person, first of all, because you move cities by yourself.
Yeah.
And went through the ups and downs. So now that you're in a new space, being in a new city and in a new place, you're embracing who you are and owning who you are and what you do and what you're about. So
Yeah.
when you're speaking with particular or entrepreneurs in particular, what do you see that's lacking in them in terms of owning who they are and embracing the change?
Oh, that's really good. One is embracing change, period. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we start out with our businesses, and either you start out in one of two places. You start out very clear on what it is that you've created, or you start out with the first step of what you created, and you just
Yeah.
give your space the freedom to see how it evolves. With my business, that's how I was person B. I started out with the one step. I started out with my coaching program, the lead program, where I help women face their fears and position them to launch their product or service-based businesses. And that's
Mm-hmm.
all I saw when I started my business last March. That is literally all I saw.
Yeah.
And then over time, people asked for other ways to work with me, which is how my strategy package came about. And then my new program, Surviving to Thrive and You, came into play. But I want entrepreneurs to be okay with change. Sometimes your journey is going to look exactly like what you thought. Your business is going to look exactly like what you thought. Sometimes it's not. And you have
Mm-hmm.
the choice to move with it and accept it, or you can push yourself against it. And I think sometimes people really lose when they will not go with the pivot, when they
Mm-hmm.
will not change, when they will not use the data and the feedback. What your audience is asking you for, if they're asking you about something more than what you're providing, like
Mm-hmm.
they're willing you to pay for that knowledge. They're willing to invest in you in that knowledge. Take note of the things that they're asking you about, that they're asking you for, or the things that you're providing that they're loving, because you want to create more of that. And then you may learn from that feedback other things you can do. Like all year this year, I've done polls in my stories to learn about my audience's state in business. And
Yeah.
like you said at the beginning, my business positioning statement has been I help women of color launch, form, pivot in their business since I've launched my business. But that's actually 3 different stages of business that you can be in. And I've enjoyed
Yeah.
helping women at all those different stages. But I recently have decided to pivot to becoming just a growth coach. So I'm going to focus on the growth part going into 2022. I'm going to only work with service-based business owners and help them increase their income and their impact. But I had to be willing to move with the pivot instead of pushing up against it.
Mm, love that. Where or how do we recognize the changes? How do we know when to move on from the idea or the thought process or from this particular business to that particular business? Is there like a set of circumstances, or what do you think?
That's a good question. I think that it's like you don't know, but you have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do something with that feeling. One of my new business coaches, she's amazing. She asks us all the time what feels good, and then she tells us to do what feels good. And that's a really good thing that I've had to learn as a type A planner. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what instead of just doing all these things because you planned them, what feels good? What do you not want to do? What do you do want to do now? Right. So if you're someone who's trying to determine whether to keep going or whether to pivot or whether you need to make a shift, first acknowledge the space that you're in. Like a lot of times we don't even want to acknowledge that we feel like something might be changing because it
Right,
feels
right.
uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And then 2, take some time to sit with that thought that things may be changing. For me, that's what I did from September to November, really, with my business behind the scenes. I felt like I'm growing rapidly as a service-based business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting really extremely good at what I do as a strategist and business coach. And I'm putting myself in positions to learn how to become even better as a service-based business. But I had to acknowledge that although I have service-based and product-based clients, I'm not growing in my knowledge of the product-based industry nearly as quickly as I am of the service-based industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was the determining factor to pivoting to only servicing service-based businesses in 2022 moving forward. And
Okay.
once I got down to the nitty-gritty of my why, I was able to make peace with it. And so I feel like once you acknowledge that there's a change and you sit with it, you can process, does this make sense or does this not make sense? Why would this make sense or why would this not make sense? For me, I'm a believer, so I took some time praying and fasting and seeking God. And I feel like I was getting confirmation from all over the place, left and right. And then you have to make peace with your decision. I just had to make peace with it because I knew there were people that wanted to work with me that were product based. I knew that I talked to people recently that were saving to work with me that were product based. And so
Yeah. You
there
can
was
send
that
them my way.
moment. Yeah, I will send them your way, definitely. There was that moment of like, oh man, am I going to let some people down that are following me that want to work with
Yeah.
me, or that are on my
Yeah.
email list that want to work with me? But I'm
Mhm.
a person of integrity, and I really feel like I'm really going to continue growing rapidly as a service-based business.
Yeah.
And I want to walk in that and serve those people. And I also want to have no problem recommending other people to people that are product-based. And
Mhm.
so that is why this will work. And so if someone's in that space, just follow those steps.
Absolutely. And I think it's the niching down as well. So that's for you,
Mm-hmm.
that's your space, that's your place, that, that's just your area where you thrive. So why not go for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if for anyone that's thinking about starting a business, where do you start when it comes to starting a business?
Sure. So first, just understand that starting a business is a big deal and that it's a great, pat yourself on the back because it's a huge thing for you to decide to start it. I was just
Yeah.
telling someone that the other day on the call because we don't acknowledge starting as much as we should as we acknowledge, the 10K months and the
Yeah,
six figure
the
things
six
and all
figures.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be more space for celebrating that you even want to start. But then just going through certain steps. So I'm just going to think in my head of the steps that I go through in the LEAP program, which is my group coaching program for launching, but I'm turning
Mm.
that into a course in
Yeah.
Q1. But I walk the women through several steps. Number one, business clarity, right? What is your business idea? Having a business idea is amazing, but being
Yeah.
able to get really clear on that idea and communicate that is very important. So I would say
Yeah.
seek business clarity. Take some time to do target market research. First, identify who you think needs your offer or your products, and then take some time to talk to those people and let them test those services or test those products.
Mhm.
Take some time to really think about. We do a session on discipline and organization. Like, are you willing to get disciplined and are you willing to create the organization and structure that's necessary for you to run your business? Because a
Mhm.
lot of people are out here winging a lot of things and you might be late to work and you might be like one eye open at church or things like that. You can't do that when you're running a business. This is your whole business. So you
Yeah.
have to drop those lapsical days of the things that you might get away with in somebody else's workplace and really need to drop them there too. But we're not talking
Mhm.
about that. We have to drop those things when you start a business because everything is you. You are your business, you are your brand. And so how you do things is how people know you and you want to show up excellently. You want to get into figuring out, what are the types of things I'm going to need for my business to have a presence. So we talk about your websites, your socials, your systems, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be the perfect website. For a
Yeah.
year,
Mhm.
I had a Facebook page and I had sales pages and it was wonderful.
Mhm.
No one ever stopped and said, what is this sales page or what is this website? Never. They still
Yeah.
pay me. They still invested in my services.
Right.
So just finding a place to have an online presence is key. Creating content that allows you to connect with your audience before trying to convert them into paying clients or customers is very key. Building that know, like, and trust relationship. Those are some of the major things that come to mind. And like as you put all those things together, you position yourself to start your business from a solid place.
Awesome. And you know what? I think when I'm thinking about it now, I think religion kind of helps discipline, especially if you're,
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%. So
Yeah.
um, that kind of explains who you are to me as well, because you seem very disciplined.
Yes,
Um,
I am very disciplined. And I won't say that I had to be, but like it goes back to the knowing that I was different things. And even at
mhm.
28, there's still some things where I don't know. I've had people speak over my life and tell me that I'm going to go to the nations and I'm going to speak and I'm going to do ministry and I'm going to be known globally and all these things. I don't know what that looks like. I'm still
Yeah.
figuring it out. But I know that whatever God has called me to is really huge. And so I've decided to start preparing for that and putting the systems in place and getting discipline and building myself up as a woman, as a coach, as a person of faith, just to be prepared for whatever it is that he is calling me to at whatever level.
Wonderful. And you know what? As at 38 years old, there's still things that you're trying to figure out. So, you know,
I'm sure.
it's on every level. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So when it comes to business, a lot of people overthink things. I'm guilty of overthinking a lot of things. So what are we overthinking when it comes to business, in the spaces you exist in, with the women that you speak with? What are we
Yeah.
overthinking?
Oh my gosh, the first thing that comes to mind is content. So while I don't focus on content in my business, I love content. And people seem to enjoy my content, which leads me to having a lot of conversations with people about content.
Right.
Whatever it is, put it out. Put it out. Put it out. And I
Every
always
day?
say that now it doesn't have to be every day, but
Okay.
whatever it is that you're working on that you're scared to put out, or that you're scared to promote, or the email that you're scared to send, or the graphic that you're wondering if the color is right, just put it out. Because my motto is that done well is better than perfect. You can get better at everything when you're doing it over and over again. But when you're freaking
Absolutely.
out and taking 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years to put out the business, the picture, the graphic, to promote your services, you're wasting time because you can't get better because you haven't started.
Yeah.
And in my business, even my content has grown so much because I waited it. I threw my program out there last year and asked people if they want to be a part of the first pilot of the LEAP program with a picture I took at brunch with my friends. It didn't say LEAP program. You didn't know if I owned the business. I just said, I am looking for 10 women to be a part of a program that I'm trying to have, and I want to run a test. And I got over 10 women that responded, so much so that I had to tell people no.
Right.
And so just overthinking content is something we really have to let go of. I talk about this in my Everything is Content ebook. It is helping people understand the 3 or 4 types of content you have to have as an entrepreneur. You need informational, educational content. You need lifestyle content. You need content where you're selling, and you need content that is inspirational or motivational.
Right.
Let people get to know you, because sometimes people buy from you because you're an expert, and sometimes people buy for you because they connect with your person. But we have to let go of overthinking our content. Put it out there, get better at it, get better at it, get better at it, get better at it, get better at it. And then people will come along your journey and love it. They'll buy into the fact that you're growing. The other day, somebody told me that my graphics look so amazing. I know she wasn't saying that my old graphics look trash, but I know that my graphics have extremely evolved over the last year. And just to see other people seeing that feels good. And so I want that to be encouragement to someone. I also want people to stop overthinking about what qualifies you. And that's a big one, because I've had people ask me, like, well, who licensed you to be a business coach? Or who said that you could be a business coach? God, me and God.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
I had skills and expertise. I have always loved planning. I have always loved strategy. When people around me wanted to start a business, I was the first person to help them make their plan or help them write their goals or do research with them. And I realized that there was a need for that. And for whatever anybody that's listening to is doing, there is a need for that. And you having the skills that meet that need, and God giving you those skills, is the permission. It's all the permission you need to do whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that too many people discount their lived experiences. You feel like you have to have a degree from somewhere to start your business or work your business, or you have to have a license from a fancy program, or you have to have somebody else putting your name in a room. But the truth is, if you show up and work your gift and do the work, everything is going to come together. And we just have to stop thinking about who qualified us or what qualifies us, or feeling disqualified as a beginner in business.
Absolutely. Agreed. So tell me more about your new program, Surviving to Thriving You, and what the listeners can expect from this program.
Sure, thank you. So my Surviving to Thriving You program is my group coaching program. I created it this summer in response to asks from my coaching clients before that I helped launch. They wanted a program that would help them grow. So I originally called it the CEO Society, but I've renamed it to Surviving to Thriving You. And it's a 4-month group coaching program for coaches, consultants, and service providers, where I'm going to help you go from surviving to thriving in your business by helping you develop CEO habits, upgrade your offers, elevate your launch process, and execute on the regular. And it's really good for any person that fits those categories. that wants to learn how to thrive on their level and master this level in business and then be
Mhm.
positioned to grow into the next level. And that's why there's those mindset and skill sets in there as well. Because for me, I think the worst thing that can happen is you get to the next level and you start making the money and you bring in the new clients and all these things, but you're not prepared to manage it. Your
Yeah.
mindset's not strengthened. You don't have the right routines. You don't have the right systems. You're not taking care of the things on your back end. And so I created this program to be 50% about the business owner becoming the person you need to be, and
Mhm.
50% about preparing your business to grow and thrive on this level and at the next level.
Oh, I love that. I love that the two components that you included, because typically it's focused on kind of one side, right? One-sided.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that sometimes that does a disservice to people because it's like, well, how do I make this big leap from where I am to this place that I want to be?
Mhm.
And the truth is, a lot of times you got to get prepared from where you are for where you're going.
Absolutely.
And I think that for me, it was important to incorporate that so that it could be a holistic journey.
Absolutely. I love that. You mentioned
Thank
earlier
you.
that you had a coach.
Yes. So
Yeah.
currently, I'm working with Ari Hale from Allergic to Hourly. She is my
Mhm.
business coach right now.
I love that. So how important is the coaching experience for the coach or the mentoring experience for the coach? How important is that relationship for you? So you can kind of, um, you're working with people all day, so you can kind of gather yourself and make sure you're on the right track.
Yes, and I think you kind of just spoke to that. Really, the gathering of myself and making sure that I'm moving my business forward, that I'm growing as a coach, that I'm growing as a businesswoman.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people, especially sometimes service providers, we provide this service, whatever the service is for our clients. For me, it's
Mhm.
coaching. For some people, it might be VAs or design, things like that, right? You spend a lot of your day offering this service to your clients and or managing your clients' businesses, and then there's not a lot of time left for you to do the things you want to do, or look at how you want to map out your future offers or grow in the area you need to grow, whether that's reading or investing or hire. A lot
Mhm.
of times people feel so run down from their client work they don't have time to invest in themselves. That's not been my experience, but I know there's a lot of service providers experience. And so I've just been an intentional person about growing and learning. I've always been that way as a person. And so I felt like even as a business coach,
Yeah.
I want to work with someone that's ahead of where I am. And I watched my coach all of this year. I think I found her on Instagram in March, and I just was able to start investing and working with her in October. And I worked with her for almost 2 months now, and it has just been so transformational because she's helping me see further than I saw for myself, but she's helping me also to see things clearer than I've seen for the future of my business. But then also
Mhm.
understanding that some of the things that I thought were so far off, I can do now and how to do them. So I think it's really important for coaches to have a coach because we're serving down, right? And we're always pouring out of our cup. And even though it's from our zone of expertise, it
Yeah.
still can become tiring. It still can become something that is laborious. But to have someone who's pouring into you and stretching you and helping you grow and that's concerned about the growth of your business, it's amazing. And she's accomplished things that I want to accomplish.
Right.
So who better to get under to learn from than to position me to grow than someone that's already gone to where I want to be.
I love that. I love that. And we are at the end. So I generally have a fun question
Mhm.
um, that I like to end just on a light note. Um, in your friendship circle, right?
Mhm.
What is the one thing you're the go-to person for? Like, is it some people have
Oh
like
man.
lotion in their bag? Like, what do you have? Lip gloss, a little
Hmm.
candy?
What am I the go-to person for? That is a really good question. It depends on the day. Sometimes it's business. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's the best candle. Like two things
Hmm.
I'm definitely going to be able to tell you is where to find a bomb candle and where to have brunch.
Yeah.
Definitely those two things. And if you're traveling, I can definitely have a good recommendation for you. So those are
Oh,
the things that some of my friends come to me for. They definitely come to me for relationship advice and things like that. But it depends on the day.
okay, perfect. Yeah, you're many things to different people. That's okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that, Christian. It's been so amazing to have you on the podcast. Tell our listeners where they can find you. If they're trying to,
Sure.
sign up to Surviving to Thriving You, if they're trying to find you on the gram or like wherever you are, email, let us know.
Absolutely. The best place to find me is Instagram because it leads you to everything else at Christian Mills. You can click the link in my bio to get to anything to apply for Surviving to Thriving You. That program is an open enrollment program, so no matter when you hear this, you can feel free to apply and learn more. It's a great place to email me. My DMs are always open. I love having conversations with people. So yeah, I'm here to connect with. I like to say that I'm a regular person, but that's because Instagram has become so big and lofty. But I'm very relatable. Reach out, send me a message. Let's have a conversation. Let's keep connecting because I appreciate you even allowing me to be here and share this space and this platform with me. So I just look forward to continuing this connection that we've created here today.
Absolutely, and let's try to keep that up because, as I said, I see you going places. I can feel it. So
thank you.
You're more than welcome. So I said, we got to do this. Thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, as all these things help to keep the podcast alive. Take care. Until next time.